So you spent some time on a school board as well. Go into that a little bit more. What is the role of the school board, and what are their challenges?
Well, let me start by saying that, and this is kind of where I get on my high horse a little bit.
Okay, that's fine.
um, the it's constitutional. Okay, the
Mhm.
U.S. Constitution is silent on education, so therefore, my perspective is we shouldn't even have a U.S. Department of Education. Now, some
Okay.
people disagree with that, and that's fine. But if you really look at what the US Department of Education does, they're really a database. We could actually have from again, my opinion, we could have an office of education under the Census Bureau, because that's what the Census Bureau is, collects data, and that's what the US Department of Education does. Now, mind you, they dole out money because they're appropriated money and stuff for grants and things, but that aside, there is no role for the federal government in education. That falls to the states. Now, you look at all 50 state constitutions, and you will find an article on education in every one of those.
Mhm.
And that lays out the boundaries, the focus, and each state is different. They don't all, their constitutions all state, what their objective is from a state level for education. And so there again, you've got the state and then you've got the local. And when you are an elected school board member, and the majority are elected now, there are some states that still appoint, but
Mhm.
the majority are elected. Your role is to oversee the school district or school division and ensure that the superintendent, who is the CEO of the local school district, that the superintendent and their staff administers the mandates, adheres to the policy, has sufficient programs and methods, tools, and techniques, is ensuring that children are receiving that quote quality education within their district and stuff. So there's this misnomer, and it's not just based on my experience of serving in Virginia, but now that I live in Florida, I am still involved, and I see it down here too, in that the roles have reversed in some respect, where school board members tend to subjugate their authority to the superintendent, which is not what should happen.
Mhm.
The I don't think a lot of school board members understand their role as the authority and the ones to set the vision and the goals,
Mhm.
the overarching. Now, what the superintendent and their staff do is that they must align with that. And that's where my business background, I think, plays into my perspectives with regards to having served on the school board and stuff, because I believe the school board is the one who should draft and develop the strategic plan
Mhm.
for the school district, the school division. And then everything that's done by the superintendent and the administration should tie into that strategic plan. And to
Right.
me, that's a missing piece in a lot of school districts.
Mhm.
So I don't know that school boards actually understand their role and authority. There is state constitution, which state constitution falls down into either state code or state statute, depending on where you live. And the statute is what gives more of a more of a more detail, I guess, because legislation only gives some peripheral information, where you get down into the statutes, and that's where your policy comes from, and you get more detail with regards to that. So I guess, to make a long story short, you look at your state constitution, you look at your state code or state statutes, and that's where you will find what the overarching role is with regards to a school board, and it is to manage and ensure that quality education is being provided to the children of that district.
Okay, thank you. So with that in mind, let's talk a little bit about qualities of a school board member. So, maybe somebody, and we encourage people to look into serving in that capacity. That's one of the best ways for people to improve education if they have the right gifts, the abilities, and the right motivations. They could help serve and on a board like this. So what qualities are helpful and essential for school board members?
Well, I will say that having knowledge about education should not be a criteria that you should hang your hat on, because it's much more than knowing about the education system. You can learn the education system. I
Mhm.
think maybe some qualities that you would like to consider is how well do they communicate? How well they work as a team? Do they have any team experience? The having the fortitude to be consistent, to be prudent, you have the tenacity. When you know that things are not right, you need to have the tenacity to keep pursuing and pursuing and pursuing and bringing it up. You
Mhm.
really get thick skin by serving on a school board, because you have to be a voice
Mhm.
for those who feel like they have no voice. I say
Mhm.
that quite frequently. That's what I pray for, is that the Lord will allow me to be a voice for those who feel they have no voice, because parents do feel disheartened with regards to the bureaucracy of the system. And obviously, when I talk about bureaucracy, I'm talking about the public education system, because you don't have the same structure and setup when you deal with private and homeschool. Now, there tends to be in a lot of states some legislation or some policy with regards to those two opportunities. But with regards to public education, you're really dealing with a bureaucratic system that has been in existence since the 1860s. So,
Mhm.
you know, long time.
Yeah, so I think you made a very good point that to serve on a school board, you don't have to be a specialist in education. You know, you hire people who are specialists in education to do the educating. But as a board member, you represent the community. Your responsibility is to help run the business and ensure that the business of that school system, as well as the policies and processes, and you hire people, you manage budgets, or at least oversee the management of budgets and things of that nature. So some business acumen and just basic people skills, knowledge of your community, vision, leadership, vision for what can be. How do we make things better? And that's the kind of folk that we need serving on our school boards. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would. I was not an educator, obviously, from a career perspective, but I brought a business perspective, a business mindset to the school
Mhm.
board when I was serving. And that's not necessarily welcome, I'll say, because education is of a mindset that it's all about education. And I don't know that they necessarily look at the other elements of being successful from a program or project team. Like when I, was in federal procurement, I worked on a lot of different programs, and we had a logistician, we had a finance person, we had contracting, we had technical people, we had analysts, so we had a range of experiences. And to me, that's what a school board should have as well. There should be a range of people who have bring something unique, but in coordination with ensuring that the school division meets the needs of the community, of the students in the community.